Lady mistakes my parents as employees and stomps on Mum's service dog's tail. Well, I never thought I would see them, but here we go. Noble English is first language. Come at me, Reddit. As a celebration to being fully vaccinated, myself and my family decided we were going to go away for a week to go whale watching. Such a trip needs supplies, so my family heads to the Market of Walls to get groceries and such. So to start, what we were wearing. My mother was wearing a blue dress with short sleeves trimmed with white flowers design and beige khakis. Yeah, she also has a service dog too, vest and all, a brace dog for those who are curious. My father was wearing a grey button-up shirt and black pants. Finally, I was wearing blue jeans and a green shirt that read, "I'd make a Zelda pun, but I don't want it to try and force it." Service dog, who I will shorten to Doggo, was wearing his service vest. When we entered the Market of Walls, my mother and father went one way, and I went the other way. I was to get things like sunscreen and stuff while my parents got the food. We were bringing our own food since the food there is super expensive. As such, this part is second-hand from my parents, but I will embellish with the classic Karen tropes. They were in the frozen food aisle picking out some burgers and sausages for our grills. They at first heard the classical "excuse me" when choosing between Mozart burgers and BBQ sauce burgers. They had just ignored it, but my mother felt Doggo tugging at the leash, trying to get her attention. Not something he was trained to do, just really smart. Mom turned around and saw our Karen for this story. She was clearly confused by the blue dress, and began asking my mom where something was in the aisles. Obviously, my mother said she didn't work there, and this set Karen off. My father heard the conflict and approached them, but the grey button-up shirt made Karen think he was a manager. I wish I could explain more, but as I said, this was second-hand. At this point, Karen must have stepped on Doggo's tail, because as I was heading back to find my parents, I heard poor Doggo yelp loudly, which is out of character for him, and I took off running. I arrived to the scene with my mother trying to comfort Doggo, his tail slightly red from blood, and my mother tending to it, my father arguing with Karen, and an employee wearing a blue shirt, black pants, and an apron coming up. Employee is trying to figure out what is going on, and Karen is going on about how disrespectful my mother and the manager are being. The employee is trying to explain the whole concept of us being customers, but Karen wasn't listening. I took the employee aside and asked him to get the real manager, and approached Karen. I should note I run role-playing games, and through that have learned how to improvise. Me, what's going on here? Karen looks to me. Who are you? Yeah, I'm the manager. What are you doing here? My father gave me a confused look and went to say something, but I stopped him. Karen looked me over, my cheesy t-shirt and all, and scoffed. You're not the manager, you're just some kid. I'm 29. Yeah, okay, then what about my parents is telling you they work here? Karen stopped and looked at my parents, and you can see gears turning in her head. My father saw I had things under control, and he went to help my mother, who doesn't work well under stress. Be okay. Now that you're listening, what happened to Doggo? Karen stuttered, I don't know. That better be true. Doggo is a trained service dog, and is worth probably more than what you make in a year. Karen, I need to. No, you are staying right here till the manager gets here. Doggo is hurt, and I want to know why. Karen must have been intimidated into staying, which is a surprise to me, which will be explained later. Eventually, the manager arrives 10 minutes later, guess the situation wasn't urgent enough, along with a pair of police officers who must have been called by someone. Karen tried to defend herself weakly, but all the breeze she had in her sails against my parents were gone. The manager came back and confirmed Karen stomped on Doggo's tail when Doggo got between my mom and Karen. He sat down in front of the two to stand his ground, but he wrapped his tail to his side to keep it out of the way, meaning it looked like on camera Karen also kicked Doggo. I saw red, but let my parents take care of things. They pressed charges on Karen, and the manager paid for our groceries personally, telling us he apologized and that he should have banned her earlier. When we got back to the van, I started crying. To see something I neglected to say was I am not a confrontational person. Seeing Doggo hurt, my mother crying, and my dad about to deck Karen, I snapped, and was actually scared of what I would do. If Karen didn't stand down, I was a bit afraid of what I might have done. Luckily, it didn't come to that. Mom is staying home with Doggo today while myself and my dad do some running around. She is still shaken up, and we would rather not add more stress to her. Thanks for reading, and sorry it's a bit messy. I just wanted to get this down. I needed to get this off my chest and felt writing about it would help. Court is hopefully going to be after the whale-watching trip, but I haven't heard anything about it. Update. Holy frig, this blew up. I can't get to everything now, but we cancelled everything tonight and Doggo is on the emergency vet. We'll update when more info comes to light. And thanks for the reassurance. Important update 1, Doggo's physically going to be okay. The vet said the scrape, as he described it, is shallow and should heal. Unfortunately, he will be committed to the cone of bravery when not on duty until it heals to make sure he doesn't make it worse. Mentally, well, have no update on that, but he seemed to be normal around family. I have work tomorrow, so I'll ask Mom how everything goes when she takes him out for work. As for charges on Karen, interference of service animal, willful injury of a service animal, animal abuse, assault, destruction of property, disrupting the peace, and more. She is facing upwards to 5 years in prison, minimum. Nothing official has been decided yet, however. Also, who the heck is spending their money on me giving me these awards? Seriously, everyone, you are too kind. Thank you, everyone, for the support. The most important update, Doggo tax. This photo was taken back in Christmas, since my mum won't let me take a picture with the cone of bravery. Also Canadian. Final update, before vacation. I won't be able to post until after vacation, so I wanted to answer or reply on as many answers as possible. I read everything, but I can't reply to everything. I would punch that Karen in the face, so this came up quite a bit. Honestly, the thought did cross my mind. However, my parents were right there. They taught me well, as cliché as that sounds. Even if I punched or got into a fight to defend them, they would have been extremely disappointed in me, especially considering I didn't have the full story at the time. If it was just me and Doggo, perhaps I would have. But at this point I am talking about a what-if scenario rather than what happened. You were a lot stronger than I am. Thanks, strangers. Honestly, reading your comments is making me feel better. As a shy person, I feel weak a lot of the time, can't get into conversations, sit at home and play games. But as someone has pointed out, I do seem to collect myself in stressful situations. It is likely due to the first aid training I have experienced performing under pressure, but I don't know. Either way, thank you for your kind comments. How could someone hurt a dog? I honestly have no reason. Doggo might have made a threatening gesture or something. As I said, I wasn't in the area of the initial engagement, and I didn't see the CCTV. Either way, she done goofed up. Final words. As I said, I am going on vacation, and the court is happening afterwards. I will do one final update when everything is said and done. If you use the Remind Me bot, make sure it is for Tuesday 2 weeks from now.
Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. The management company that oversees my apartment building has always been total crap. Packages go missing from the mail room, repairs take forever, staff are unfriendly, not at all worth what we pay in fees. There was only one solid employee, and he almost made up for everyone else's incompetence, the janitor, Ruin. He kept everything sparkling clean, even pitched in when other people slacked off, helping with repairs, ID checking in the lobby, and more, just because he took pride in the building. Then the corporate oversight of the management company changed, and the new boss was having all the properties inspected to do a quality spot check on the individual building managers. Our manager, the winner that he is, decided the best course of action would be to not come in the day of the oversight visit so that it would have to be cancelled. The hope was the checker would just inspect what he could without the manager on site, which wasn't much since he'd have already made the trip out there. My apartment has terrible cell reception and no AC, so I spend a ton of time downstairs in the lobby, which has both. I was able to overhear most of the planning for this visit as a result. Our janitor, Ruin, knew to, and he was spiffing everything up like new in excitement, fixing a few broken things the repairs guy ignored, and even bringing in fresh-cut flowers to the lobby out of his own pocket. Ruin dressed up in a collared shirt and khakis for the visit. He didn't know the manager was bailing. I just heard it hanging out in the lobby late one night. So when the corporate inspector arrived, Ruin was the only guy he saw. He was dressed up, so the inspector shook his hand and started rattling off the things he wanted shown to him. Ruin knows this building better than anyone else on the staff, so you could tell he was a little overwhelmed at being seen as the point person, that he knew the answers to every one of the inspector's questions. Meanwhile, a few tenants and contractors who frequent the building past and all knew Ruin brought him concerns about their apartments. Those on the staff who knew we were being inspected even made a point to say, "Yeah, Ruin's the guy if you've got a problem." So the end of the inspection must have come because they recongrating in the lobby. The inspector told Ruin he wanted to get his full name so he could make a note in his employee file of how well he's run the building so far, and that he'd meet with him later in the week to discuss fixes for the problems he found. Ruin, shocked, is like, "You want to meet with me again?" And the inspector is like, "Sure, I'm looking forward. A long working relationship. I like to meet with each building once a month. Sorry, what was your name again for the file?" Ruin told him, and the inspector goes, "Hold on, I thought someone called Eddie was the manager here." And Ruin explained, clearly embarrassed and scared he'd done something wrong, that he is not the manager. The manager didn't come in today. The inspector then went and spoke with a few people in the building on his own while Ruin absolutely lost his shit in the lobby, thinking he was going to be fired or get the building censured or something. Eventually, the inspector comes back and he sits Ruin down and tells him he might not be manager in title, but he's manager in action, so if he wants it, he's got a new job. The man cried. Ruin's been working as a contractor through a janitorial service, not directly for the building, so no benefits, considered part-time, very little job security or support, and he'd just gone from that to a cushy office job in the building he loves in the blink of an eye. I was sitting on the couch a few spaces down from them. The lobby has a sitting area with tables and chairs and couches, and I felt compelled to ask, before anyone got too excited, "Hey, excuse me, can you do that? Or could someone veto this?" Because I hated to think Ruin would be so excited, only to have some sort of bureaucracy or old boys club shoot down his promised opportunity. The inspector turns to me and informs me he's the new CEO of the management company, and final hiring decisions are at his sole discretion. Then he asked who I was, and I basically said I was just leaving, and I fucked off out of there before my big mouth complicated things any further. This week Ruin started officially. We've got flowers in the lobby every day now, and a dripping faucet I've been waiting 6 weeks to have fixed is scheduled for repair on Thursday. He didn't work there, but he does now.
Check out my other incredible videos